Alright guys, I'm going to be discussing how I lost like $800 today and what happened. So today's trade recap will start on the higher time frame. My bad, I have like the hammer tools and shit like that. So here's my original sort of thought process here. I feel like I'm too bright. Am I too bright right now? Hold up. I gotta No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not too bright. Oh, my camera just okay. All right, so my confluence for today was, sorry, my narrative was long. I wanted longs today on the Nasdaq. So this is market open down here, by the way. This is market close. Don't worry about that. But basically, we had a big bearish SMT on ES. However, we had broken structure towards the upside at NQ. And if there's anything I learned from these past couple weeks of trading is that you really don't want to be shorting these all-time highs. You know what I mean? Unless, of course, there's extra narrative too, which later on happened, and I'll explain that too. So we had that break of structure right here. It happened pre-market, right? So let's scale down to like lower time frames. So right here we had a 1 hour fair value gap, which had a really nice rejection, right? So that's how you can kind of tell that just because I took a loss today doesn't mean that, it was like finalized. Oh, like you took a loss because you're bad at trading. No, like my strategy played out, but eventually like decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go bearish for today. Basically what I wanted to see happen was for us to break out of this accumulation range. We broke it on the upside when the market opened. Um, but that didn't really matter to me. What I essentially wanted to see was a distribution to grab this 1 hour for value, and that's exactly what we kind of got. So we were just accumulating orders, ranging during the London session, and just skyrocketed up like 59 points when the market opened. And if you scale down to the lower time frame, right, you see here how we had an insane bullish reaction, the first bullish candle, a second bullish candle, another, like, let's see how it keeps going, right? um Literally right when we took this for value, and I was like, okay, this is an easy continuation, right? This is like literally brain dead simple. What I'm gonna wait for here is a 1 minute confluence, right? And today I based it off of a 1 minute order block. So as you can see, liquidity was taken here, right? And we had an insane rejection and a retrace. Look how we had that retrace, got a inverse off of that, and I took my position, right? And everything was looking good, especially on ES, right? We were literally, look how high we reached on ES. Look at this. Ridiculous. We really already took internal highs. You know what I mean? So what I essentially did want to see was uh these highs right here taken, and I would have likely partialed out at internal over here. Um, and I would have stopped my trade out either when we hit this on ES or come up here on NQ, right? Or I also would have partialed out if we had, I believe we had some type of imbalance here. Yeah, 5 minute BPR right here, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to take a partial out, like 609 or whatever. That's like what, like 1.5 hours. A beautiful partial, and we chopped up for a bit. We were chopping up for a fat minute there, and we were holding this imbalance extremely well. Eventually, though, I did get stopped out. Um, I could have argued that, oh, if I just set my stops a little bit lower, I would have gotten stopped out, blah blah blah. But I don't like doing that, right? I set my stops right, usually right below the previous low. So the previous swing lows right here is the most recent. Why does my chart keep doing that? The most recent like lower time frame low. So if you look at the 1 minute, I don't know what my chart keeps. That's really annoying. But yeah, and I don't necessarily set my stop losses like way under. Like that's stupid. Obviously, price can kind of troll sometimes, so I don't set it exactly on it like this. I'll do like a couple points below. So I had it like somewhere here, right? I don't actually remember. Let me just turn on my executions real quick. Yeah, so 554. Yeah, like right here. And yeah, as you can see, I didn't take any other trades because there's no reason for me to crash out like that. You know what I mean? That's just gonna render me unprofitable. Anyways, So what essentially kind of confirmed me to want to really stay in this trade is that when we had this high impact news at 10, we closed with a hammer candle towards the upside. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we're looking at this forming bullish structure right here. We're doing a very good job of holding this imbalance. And we're going to keep going up. I've seen this over and over, and it's a pretty clear draw, right, to reach newer highs. But what ended up happening here was we just started moving towards the downside. And this is when you would have wanted to go bearish, right? Because we did have that insane bearish SMT. I'm pretty sure we had one on a lower time frame too. It's when we got a close. Yeah, so right here, we got a 15-minute close below the previous low, turning our bias now bearish. And look how we just kind of dumped. So I'll kind of go over what the market has been doing. I didn't really go over that. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We came down here. Our drawn liquidity was weekly lows, and we had insane reactions off of that. We just want to keep moving higher. I'm assuming we're going to do the same shit again during the market open. We're just going to range, and then we're just going to come back up eventually, right? We haven't broken structure on the hourly yet. We're going to have to see when Asia opens in about 40 minutes. But for today's trade, you know, it was an L, and L's happen. But guess what? I was talking to my students about how I wanted to take a second trade, and the only confluence that I would ever want would be for a flip on this candle right here. It's one of these candles. I said I wanted a bullish close on this 15-minute candle, and we didn't get it. So it was like most likely 10:15, right? We got a bearish close on the 5-minute, bearish close on the 15-minute. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And look what happened after. We just shit down. So I didn't catch a re-entry. I didn't take another trade. I simply just took my loss and moved on, because at the end of the day, what do profitable traders do? Well, they trade once or twice per day, and then they move on, even if they take a loss. Why? Because that's how you get profitable. I don't think you guys have heard of a profitable trader that does the opposite of what I just said, right? That wouldn't make sense. Anyways, that was kind of my trade for today. We also, I believe we did have some type of internal SMT form at these lows as well. I'm not even too sure. Everything happened pretty fast, and I don't exactly have the chart data to keep up. Yeah, we did have, look at this internal SMT, right? There was so much confluence to go long, especially with the news bringing us towards the upside, and with ES forming such beautiful 1-minute structure. You know what I mean? ES was moving so clean, and I had like, there was literally no good reason for me not to go long in that situation. I just got stopped out. Why? Because the strategy isn't going to always work. Because if this S tier like setup that I have right in front of me did work, then guess what? I would full port all my trades. But guess what? That doesn't work. You know what I mean? So it's not that like I'm a bad trader, or like I'm picking out bad trades, or I can't see the market properly. It's just that my strategy didn't play out today. You know what I mean? You guys need to be thinking the same thing too. If you took a loss today, you gotta think of it in the long run. You know what I mean? Because you're not gonna be a profitable trader without taking any losses. And you're not. There are some people that I know that like only take like one loss per month. Like that was literally me. Like last month in June, I actually took 0 losses, right? But guess what? Like you're eventually going to have to, and I did, right? Because at the end of the day, it's night. No, but at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, like, do you really want to be doing this for the rest of your life? And if you are, then you need to put yourself in the shoes of that person that's already doing it. Because if you're not doing what they're doing, then you're going to go somewhere else, right? That's like saying, oh, I want to be a professor when I grow up, but you're reading, textbooks on engineering, right? How are you going to become a professor if you're just reading up an engineer? Like, it doesn't work like that. So if you're like trading a strategy that's like crap, right? Not your actual strategy, but like once you like rage and take random trades, that's not following your strategy. That's something else completely, right? And you're just adding extra confidence for no good reason. Then you're just saying, all right, I'm gonna skip from engineering to science or like math randomly. Boom, boom, boom. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? You're just gonna get pummeled like everyone else here, right? Everyone in the market, 90% people lose because they aren't able to just say, yeah, I'm gonna put my ego down, take a loss, and realize that if I just play smart, I'm gonna have a win in the long run. All I need to do is pipe down, relax, and breathe. Because there's always going to be tomorrow. And tomorrow, your chances of winning are quite literally increased because you took a loss today. This goes like without saying that if you have a model that hasn't taken like more than 3 or 4 losses in a row, then it's a good model. You know what I mean? Like that should never ever happen. Like I think the maximum of losses I've ever taken outside of like over trading and all that bullshit is most likely like three, right? That's at least what my model data says, and at least for me, like personally, when I actually live trade and stuff like that. Um, that being said, I can't get on tomorrow and be like I'm gonna lose again. Like I gotta trade right now before I like whoa, 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 whoa. It doesn't make sense because here, think about this. Think about walking into the market holding my hand, for example, if you trade with me and you actually learn from me. That's me, shilling my experience to you and showing you the way of life. Now imagine that now you go in by yourself, the guy who's never gonna pay out, the guy who keeps blowing accounts. You're gonna get swept just like all the other guys, right? You're not anything special because you haven't built anything around yourself yet. You're not at that point yet. So you're just gonna get pummeled like everyone else when you just hop on something that you just pull out of your ass. You know what I mean? So you really need to just take a step back, and that's exactly what I did. I went to my bed, closed my charts, and just went on my phone, posted some content, played some Clash Royale, chilled out a bit. You know what I mean? And that's the whole key to this entire thing, right? You need to make the realization that if you don't take the actionable measures and steps to get into the mindset of the person you want to be, then you're going to be that person. When people are trying to sleep, they pretend they're falling asleep before they actually sleep, right? It's the same thing here. If you want to get rich, you got to pretend to be rich, right? I'm not saying go and spend all your money. No, no, no. I mean the mindset, right? You got to think like a person that's rich to get rich, right? And if you're thinking like a person that's rich, you're gonna go ahead and say, all right, what does extra trades do that I'm not? Let me do what he does, and let's just see if it works. Okay, I'm doing it. It's not working for me yet. Let me give it a little more time. Okay, it's kind of working. Okay, let me give it more time. Okay, it's still not working. Okay, let me go look at what I'm doing right now and see if it's exactly what he does. What can I optimize? What can I fix to make it exactly like him? Or at least make it somewhat similar where I also can see it in my own way. Boom. Just like that. All it takes is time and patience, but unfortunately, a large majority of this generation can't focus for like more than 5 minutes, right? And that's why you need to train yourself to be able to focus because how do you expect to make thousands of dollars online if you can't even focus for more than 5 minutes? It's, like harsh truth, it's not really gonna happen. Um, but the nice thing about trading is that it's the easiest thing to do from online money. It's literally the least amount of work for the highest ROI because you can technically make like hundreds of thousands a month technically if you just buy more accounts, and then at the same time you only work an hour a day, right? Like this trade recap stuff, my Discord, my social media, all that stuff's extra. I just do it because it gives me something to do outside of my time besides spending my money, and I enjoy doing it. It brings me fulfillment when I get people saying like, oh, like you know what? Let me actually pull up a screenshot today of someone that said something actually very nice to me. Let me see if I can grab that real quick. During my live trading session, it was actually very, very, very pleasant. Let's see if I can get that. It's somewhere here. I'm gonna look for it for a second. Hold on. Unfortunately, I'm not able to find it, but he said something along the lines of, "Bro, I appreciate the way you explain things to me. A lot of people use like recycled information and it's all saturated, and I can't understand because it's just, oh, lock in, do this, do that, instead of something specific, right?" And like the way that he, articulated his message was, very pleasant for me to hear because it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, and that's exactly what I want to be doing, right? I want to be able to get the message across to people that, hey, this thing is possible. It's not going to be easy. Well, actually, it's going to be simple. You just gotta make the right choices. It's not going to be easy though, right? And I'll give you the exact things that you need to be able to do it. Okay? It's not about lock in, freaking put your phone away, blah blah blah, all this stuff like that helps. But there's specifics to this game that a lot of people don't put you on, and that's essentially what I kind of do when I do these sessions in the morning with my students because I like to explain the way that I trade instead of just sticking up body saying, "Hey, this looks good." Because when you guys hop in the trade and it's not something that you're aware of, then you're gonna freak out because you're just relying on me, some random guy, instead of yourself, right? Person that you trust the most. And it'd be better if someone actually taught you how to use these things so you at least know what's going on, why it's happening. So so many people will just say, okay, yeah, just waiting for, like, they'll just mention their entry confluence and then maybe type out their daily bias in like a chat or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like just go over it for like 2 seconds. But no, I like to get like nitty and gritty because I feel like information should be free to an extent, right? Um, the reason being is because if it's free and it's decent, right, decent enough, then if that person who watches all of it for free then finishes it and actually learns from it, then they'll be willing enough to take that extra step to go further in life because they were like, all right, I already know what the heck I'm doing. I'm gonna go and do it now, right? Um, so like when I charge for my, like, inner circle and mentorship and stuff like that, people are never upset with it because they know the risks already. They're like, yeah, I learned from it and I know what needs to be done already because I already spent my time with this guy. I know that he knows what he's talking about, and that you need to put on risk for trading. So who am I to think that I can put on risk for trading, but I can't put on risk for someone to literally teach me the exact, you know what I mean? So, those are the exact type of students that I look for because those guys, they really kill it. You know what I mean? I have a couple of interviews that is being edited by my editor, and it's got some super nitty and gritty stuff. It's got some insane stuff in there. Anyways, that being said, that was kind of my trade recap for today. I don't really have that much more to add besides see you guys tomorrow and good luck on the Nasdaq this week.